Our mics are moving around. There we go.
We can edit that part out, but I know you won't.
I won't.
I know.
Alright, so welcome back to Apostasy Now Ramble.
Yeah, it's another ramble for you, folks. We're going to be talking about the wonderful Lord Richard Dawkins.
Just really quick at the beginning, I'm going to do a little plug. Our website is apostasynow.net.
Yes.
I'm Mr. Dragonbeard.
I'm Smashlock.
And we also have a Patreon set up. We don't have a one-time donation thing set up yet, but we're going to get that at some point in the future. And we're really interesting and smart and funny and really cool.
He's lying.
So today we're going to do something that you're all going to love. We haven't really structured this.
No, that's why it's a ramble.
In general, we intend to talk about
Sir Richard Dawkins.
Lord of the realm of morality and knowledge of all things.
Yes. Apparently, he has decided to join with the great and powerful Sam Harris and Lawrence Krauss and every other person who wears a lab coat and fearmonger about the elections that took place with Brexit and with Trump.
So let me just start by saying this. I have heard about this from a few places, but in particular, there's a number of productions done by Michael Shermer that talks about how studies have actually shown that the more educated and intelligent you are, the more likely it is that when you dig your heels in on a subject that you think is true, the more likely you are to defend it and make good excuses to keep your wrong ideas.
Right.
Which is counterintuitive because normally it's thought ignorant people or unintelligent people are more likely to dig in their heels because they feel defensive. But it's actually guys like Dawkins.
Yeah, well, I mean, all I have to say about that is that I think you and I are ignorant enough that we can abandon all bad ideas.
Yes. This is why I have lobotomized myself.
Yeah.
As you can tell from our productions.
Well, I mean, the reason I'm making that joke is because if you read the beginning of this letter that he has done, you get to that one line. Just go through it, Mr. Dragonbeard. Right, you got a voice for this.
First, this was Richard Dawkins published this in Scientific American. Well, I'm not sure if he intended it for there, but this is who published it. And it was addressed to New Zealand. So this is not to Americans or even to British, because he mentions Britain as well. This is to go overseas to other cultures and poison the well against Americans and the Brits.
Oh, well. I mean, it's New Zealand, whatever.
Yeah. But I mean, this is clearly something he's doing on an ongoing basis. He's unashamed of it. You know, he put this out there in public, no problem.
Right, because he thinks he's right.
And we'll show later that he's actually including this effort with his foundation, Richard Dawkins Foundation, and CFI, which he now controls, or his board controls. So he's dragging them into it, and he's dividing his support even more. It was already bad enough after the whole Atheism Plus thing. And now he's like, you know what? What would be really great is taking more people who give us money so we can do our work and driving them away by calling them ignorant and stupid.
Oh, well, whatever, you know. Even if he's right, even if these people are ignorant and stupid, it doesn't mean that they sacrifice their right to have an opinion in the political process.
Right. Absolutely.
You know? And
ignorant and stupid people are essential in a democratic system. Otherwise, you have excluded them and therefore are not democratic. You're an aristocracy or some shit.
Right. Like, it just boggles the mind that everyone who's from, like, the intelligentsia is all pro freedom of speech and pro free expression until they don't like your uneducated, wrong think opinion.
That's right.
Yeah. So, anyways, read it away, Mr. Dragonbeard.
Okay, so to New Zealand, dear New Zealand. New Zealand's like, oh, awesome, thanks, man. What were you showing me there? Lawrence Krauss? He liked it?
We'll get to that later.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
That later. Okay, well, just everyone at home, just note. There's something funny we're gonna tell you. All right. So, dear New Zealand, let me do it with his. Should I do it like him? Dear New Zealand, the two largest nations in the English-speaking world have just suffered catastrophes at the hands of voters. In both cases, the uneducated, anti-intellectual portion of voters science in both countries will be hit extremely hard. In one case, by the xenophobically inspired severing of painstakingly built-up relationships with European partners. In the other case, by the election of an unqualified, narcissistic, misogynistic, sick joke as a president. In neither case is the disaster going to... I don't know what's going on with my accent.
I don't know. You started off sounding a little bit like Dawkins in my mind, and then slipped right into like a Nazi German fucking. It sounds like you were trying to do an impression of that dude from Raiders of the Lost Ark. You know, yes, Mr. Jones. Okay, just read it normal, dude.
In neither case is the disaster going to be short-lived in America because of the non-retirement rule of the Supreme Court. In Britain, because Brexit is irreversible. I'll try to remember to put a link to this in the show notes because it goes on for a little bit here. But, okay, so right away we should see a problem. I don't know which part you were thinking of here.
The uneducated, when he's ripping on everyone.
All right, so at the hands of voters, in both cases, the uneducated, anti-intellectual portion of voters. So already he's making a fact claim, a knowledge claim.
Right.
This isn't people who disagreed with the corruption on the left. This isn't people who are worried about jobs and being able to take care of their family. This isn't people who are intellectual but disagree with him and have a different perspective. These are uneducated, anti-intellectual people. All.
Right. Let's forget the fact that fucking college voters went for Trump.
Right.
Or college educated went for Trump.
Right.
All right.
Let's forget
But,
about it.
they're white, so they don't count. Right.
Or record levels of people that were black and Hispanic.
Right.
And women
still
voted
a minority.
for Trump.
Still a minority. Well, not
Right.
white women. White women were a majority, I think, went for Trump. I'm not sure. But, he doubled the Hispanic and I think doubled or tripled the black vote.
Yeah.
For a Republican, that's still a minority of those two demographics.
Well, that's only because you know what he did. Trump somehow uneducated those people.
Right.
That's how he increased the numbers. He
Right.
sent out a field that wiped education out of their mind.
And Dawkins understands now that, all of those people that voted for Obama 4 and 8 years ago that voted for Trump this time around actually lost their degrees.
That's right.
The
degrees
they
suddenly
got dumber over
expired.
time. Yeah, they expired.
Um,
It's fucking arrogant, is what it is.
Okay, so the European one, he doesn't say as bad, but he's talking about the relationship with Europe. That's fine. That's his opinion. In the other case, by an election of an unqualified, narcissistic, okay, so narcissistic is a psychological term. He is not a psychologist.
No.
Misogynistic, sick joke. Oh, a misogynist. Let's see now. Who recently was called a misogynist unfairly, and was uninvited from a conference? Who was that?
Oh, wait.
I know this one.
Oh, fuck.
If only I were Sam Harris, I would be smart enough to know this answer.
Oh, man. Who was wrongly accused of being...
Yeah, just smeared.
Something...
And
Dickens. Something...
Dickens, no.
Richard Dickens. Richard Dickens?
Richard Dickens.
Richard
Dickens.
Richard Dawkins.
Oh, it's
It was
Richard Dawkins. Oh, that's so strange. I was just reading about him calling someone else misogynist here he didn't like.
What a sick joke.
Yeah. Well, see, so clearly it's easy to dish it out.
Right. Don't go have a stroke or nothing.
And maybe this is a... Oh, no.
That was a little below the belt.
I'm not sure where it was. I think it's in the brain where those occurred, but...
Right. That's ED.
If it was a different stroke, I think you're thinking of an orgasm.
All right. He's too old for that.
Okay, so I was just about to say, this might be a good time for us to clarify. We do not hate Richard Dawkins, and we acknowledge that he does a lot of very good work, which is actually why we take issue with this kind of bullshit.
Right. There are people again and again and again and again who we respect. And you wouldn't know it to listen to our rants or to listen to our podcast sometimes, but we do respect them. And they're entitled to their opinion. We're not saying that they are not entitled to their opinion. But I will use this term again. It is intellectual intimidation. They are basically so flabbergasted that the public that supports them in almost every other endeavor that they undertake. Not the Christian right, obviously, but, atheists, secularists, humanists.
Yeah.
People who obviously, some of them voted for Trump.
Yeah.
And some people broke with them and are calling them out on their bullshit, voted for Trump, or at least supported the right of the people to vote for him. And now they are just so flabbergasted by this because they just don't understand it. It's a foreign concept to them, how people that would agree with them and everything else are breaking for Trump.
Yeah.
And they're unable to examine the problems of their own side.
Because they're very knowledgeable in their own fields and in their own areas of expertise. Yeah.
Yeah, and they
become a
refuse to
detriment
accept it.
rather than an asset in this case. And there's a psychiatrist that I follow named Dr. Alan Francis. He's very smart, although he's also very anti-Trump. And I've called him a couple times on his posts as well. But when he's talking about psychology and the dangers of the DSM, he's laid this out very clearly how this works. The reason you need to be careful when you're putting together a book like the DSM is because if you pack your cabinet, your people who are putting it together, your team, with experts in their own field, the propensity of an expert is always, it's human nature, to specialize too much in the knowledge that they see in their field, and then to think that should be generalized to all fields.
Right.
So he's actually had to contend with this, and there's like a huge history of him battling, because he was the chair of the DSM-4, and now he battled against the DSM-5 and a lot of their bad ideas. But this is the same principle. It's human nature. They're specialized in evolutionary biology, or we'll even say campaigning for science and education. But what he doesn't understand is he's never had to fucking work on an auto floor putting parts together, and then he gets turned into a temp agency worker, loses his benefits, has no job security, and he makes a fraction of the cost. And now he's got to pay his mortgage, he's not sure how, and it's stress on his family.
And I will repeat this again, and I will repeat it every time we have this discussion, right? It's not that these people are anti-science. It's that science is not their first priority. Feeding their family, keeping their fucking lights on.
Right.
Is their priority. Having warm clothes, having fucking gas.
Or as George W. would say, putting food on their family.
Yeah, please. Right. But there's a certain level of comfort. Like, I mean, even humanity had to reach a point developmentally from agrarian societies to, Bronze Age to Iron Age.
I know that from Civilization.
Right.
It's a great game.
It was a great game. But I'm just saying, up through the ages, we've created more amenities and more easier ways to accomplish growing our food and making our clothes, so that we had more time to devote to development of our intellect.
Right.
These people who voted for Trump, a good majority of them, even the college-educated ones, are coming out of college and university realizing it doesn't matter what they have for a degree. There's no fucking jobs.
And you know what, Dawkins and guys like you need to get out of the conference halls if you're trying to understand this. The people showing up to conferences have money to spare, right? The people that we're talking about don't have that kind of fucking money. You aren't seeing them. You visit America, you go to the airport, you got your motel, your speaking engagement, maybe a nice restaurant. Sorry, Dawkins, that's not America. That's one small sliver of America. And who the fuck are you to judge people like this? Look at this line. There are top scientists in America and Britain, talented, creative people, desperate to escape the redneck bigotry of their home countries. Holy shit. Fuck you, Dawkins.
Yeah, that's bullshit. These coal miners, these steel workers, these auto workers, these truck drivers, these so-called fucking rednecks are the people that haul your garbage away.
Yep.
They're the people that keep your streets clean.
As a truck driver, I bring everything you wear, eat, and live in.
Right. They bring your lumber. All right? They bring you your oil. All the shit that gets turned into everything that you use.
Right. And we don't... People that are at the working class level, we don't need lip service from scientists. What we need is a decent amount of respect. We don't need to be... The average worker doesn't need to be worshipped. Just some dignity would be nice in a discussion.
No, because they're fucking rednecks. That's all they are to these guys.
Yeah.
All right? And you wonder why people are anti-intellectual. It's not that they're anti-intellect. It's not that they're anti-science. They're you're a fucking dick when you talk like this.
Right. Dawkins should know better than this shit. So should Sam Harris. Sam Harris apparently at least is somewhat self-aware about this because he's explained that he knows why they lost the election.
Right. And that's good. That's a
Yeah.
sign of growth, or at least it's a sign that he's taken a step back.
Yeah.
He's examined the situation and
He doesn't like
understands.
it, but yeah.
All right. The people on the left that were put forward as candidates were shit candidates. Trump was a shit candidate, but he was a less shitty candidate, even if he's anti-science, because even if every fucking thing he said was a lie.
If you want to win the next election, the fact of the matter is you need to get inside the head of the people who voted differently than you wanted to and understand them. You can't dictate to them. It's not a democracy in the United States, but it's a democratic republic. People have a say. You can't just steamroll them. That's an aristocracy. You can't do that.
No, and it's not fair to them. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to say that these people need a safe space. They've been beaten over the head for years by people who were their so-called betters about how backwards they were. And they're done with it. They're just done with it.
And as we saw with Atheism Plus and extreme feminism coming in and shattering unity within the skeptic and atheist communities, and there was not a strong enough pushback against it, it costs CFI and a lot of other organizations a lot of money in investments, people attending their conferences and all this different shit. It fractured their support. They should have stepped up to the plate, and they didn't, and they got what they deserved for it, as far as I'm concerned. It's still sad to see, but I can't feel pity for them.
No, and I don't feel pity for them either. Like I said, I do respect what they're trying to do.
Right.
And I respect the work that he's done in the field of science. But I keep getting this image of Sheldon from The Big Bang Theory.
Yes.
Every time somebody from the academic circles talks about politics, it's not that you're not allowed to have an opinion.
Right.
It's not that you're not good at recognizing patterns. All right, I get it. You can use the scientific method and you try to apply it to this political field, but it doesn't work because, like most geeks, you don't get people. All right, you're probably really good and really social in circles of people like you. All right, but to the vast majority of people, you're weird. You're weird because you're really smart. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. All right? But you're like Sheldon trying to figure out why somebody wants to give you a hug. You know? You just don't get it.
This is Dawkins' version of lecturing Leonard, the plebs, about their roommate agreement.
Right. You know, like, you don't understand. You are not allowed to vote for Donald Trump because right here on line 5B...
Line 55 of section 32.
In the case that a game show host is running for president, you will vote for the appropriate candidate by gender and or age and or... and it's just... It really, I think it comes down to this. They don't understand people. They can read all of the facts.
Yeah.
But they can't read the terrain. They can't read the terrain.
There's something else we haven't even gotten into, is that where are they when it comes to the science denialism on the left? Sometimes they'll speak out about certain things, but they are very timid about it. Whenever it comes to the right, what's seen as the right traditionally, they will come out hammer down. No problem. They
you want to teach creationism? Let's bring the gauntlet. But somebody from the left goes, hey, this gender stuff that keeps going on.
There's no such thing as gender.
Yeah.
Hey, grade 2 kids, there's no such thing as gender. Should we tell their parents we're teaching them this? No need. Those parents, they're just a bunch of uneducated rednecks.
Right. But it's worse than that. When an association of medical professionals says that teaching this shit to our children is fucking them up.
Right.
Silence. Crickets.
Yeah. Where are you, Dawkins? Oh, nowhere.
Right.
I guess
and now it's getting to the point that because of the absolute dead silence from the so-called intelligent betters, just either A, they agree with it, or B, they're just too scared shitless to actually stand up to it. Now this stuff is getting silently passed into law.
Well, here's the lesson. Here's the lesson for everyone in the atheist and skeptic communities. What happened at the NECSS is what it was called when Dawkins was uninvited. Works. And here's how it works. You see, they made an example of him by uninviting him and embarrassing him in front of everyone and sending a message that if you didn't get on the feminist line, then you would be treated like garbage. You'd be thrown down, cast out. Now, he was a big enough name that they re-invited him after a discussion. But now you can see that he is on the bandwagon.
He's whipped.
He knows exactly where he can and cannot speak. And a lot of other people got this message as well. So it works. Remember, intimidation, always respond to it. Always go with your intimidators. Not the people who stood up for you. Not the people who were there regardless if they agreed with you or not because you were mistreated.
Right.
Go with the intimidators.
And you know what? I will, for the rest of my days, or the rest of his days, because he'll probably expire before I do, but for the rest of his days, I will agree with him on a great many of his points.
Yes.
Just like I will agree with Lawrence Krauss. Just like I will agree with Sam Harris. Just like I will agree with the late Christopher Hitchens. Just like I agree with Thunderfoot, Sargon of Akkad, Computing Forever, Potholer 54, Andromeda's Wake, going all the way back to the time I started watching YouTube. There are tons of these people that I agree with on a majority of the things that they say. But the moment I disagree with you doesn't make me or anyone else a fucking idiot.
And we should also point out, people have been doing this hard work while Dawkins has been coasting on this shit and now wants credit for, credit in the arguments about science. I'm sorry, I'm not going to give you credit in this. You haven't been in the trenches, dude. You haven't spoken out. You haven't been involved. We've got Christina Hoff Sommers, who herself is a feminist, but she's a fact-based feminist from way back in the day. She's been going into universities, writing books, doing research. Where's this all gone wrong in academia? And that applies. She could have predicted this whole gender thing. And no one in Dawkins circles gives a shit.
Because it's not their field.
Is she being invited to anything Richard Dawkins is putting on or any of these conferences that have speakers like him there? No, of course not. Why? Well, because she's not the right kind of skeptic.
Right. But see, this is the thing. There's nothing wrong with disagreeing with anyone, all right? And so we're not ripping on Dawkins or anyone else because we disagree with them. It's the manner in which they're disagreeing. Like, look, I like Milo Yiannopoulos. I like that guy. I think he's funny. I think he's a bit trollish. But I disagree with him completely about what it is to be an atheist.
Yeah.
But he's a believer, so I don't expect to agree with him on that. I haven't agreed with everything Sargon says. I'm a bigger fan of his than I think most of the other people I've listed, but that's only because what he says resonates with so many people.
You should never be dogmatic with following anyone, just like we're saying here that we're not casting. Our objective is not to cast Dawkins down and say that you should do the same. Absolutely not.
No, we're here to
This is a disagreement, and this is a disagreement on something that's important, and we're pointing it out. And hopefully, other people. Okay, so I was talking about support, right? How this is costing the foundation that he runs and CFI their support through what he's doing.
Yeah.
Right. So let's look here. This is a recent tweet. I encourage people, I'll put a link to his Twitter. Go there and check it out for yourself. Just click onto some of the stuff that he's doing that's politically oriented, very lefty oriented, and look at the responses. Normally Dawkins has just people supporting him down his comment section, largely. It's very rare that he has one of these blow-ups that are famous, right? So let's see, he says here, the source of my quotes from Donald Trump correctly damning the Electoral College system, which, by the way, Dawkins clearly does not understand.
Well, I'm sure he clearly thinks he understands it.
Yeah, he does think because he doesn't have any stake in it. But at any rate, regardless of where you fall on that issue, let's look at how his Twitter unfolds here. First guy, as flawed as the Electoral College may be, undermining it would be a sore day for democracy. And then the next comment he makes is, if you don't like the system, campaign before the result, not after. I don't have to like the result to respect it. Already, that is a damning response. Because Dawkins' quotes he's giving are from years ago. So Trump made some comments about the electoral system 4 or 5 years ago. Well, we're talking
doesn't mean that they're not relevant to bring up, but the point is that after the fact, hindsight's 20/20, dude. Like, you should have got in front of it.
Right.
And the problem is that it really wouldn't have mattered, all right? Because unless Richard Dawkins and all of his intelligent buddies were going to put forward a better candidate, which they don't have any stake in or really have any power to influence, they were going to lose anyway. And they were going to lose anyway for the same reason that Sam Harris, rightly has reassessed and pointed out why the left lost.
Yeah.
It's because you've been shitting on the little guy.
Yeah.
And what you're doing, Dawkins, is galvanizing that position. You're not helping
and
the
actually,
left.
I don't have it ready to pull up here, but there's a great author of The Righteous Mind, and I'm sorry, I'm blanking on his name. But that's the name of the book. It's a great thing. Go check it out. I'll try and include that in the link as well. But this author was cited recently on Twitter and Facebook by Shermer as showing a relationship between identity politics on the left and as it's risen by throwing down white people and males. The more they do that, the more they galvanize them into an organized group to defend themselves as white people and as males. So as the right is rising, and they're looking at them and screaming racists and they're fascists, it's being created by the left's intolerance.
Right. And I've said this before. You create the hate that you say exists. All right?
Well, there's a difference between a couple of guys saying inappropriate shit at work, right?
Right.
And then people banding together for a political crusade. That's when this shit gets out of hand.
Right. You know, like, look, there are shitty white people in the world. There's shitty black people. There's shitty brown people, yellow people, purple people. I don't give a fuck. If there's a color of person, there's shitty people amongst them.
Yeah.
All right?
And honestly, though, I think Asians should protest the yellow color. It sounds... I don't think that... I've never seen one and thought, that person looks yellow.
No. Olive. Whatever. But black people are really just dark brown, like whatever. But we're splitting hairs here now, right? I mean, we know what we mean when we're saying it. But the fact of the matter is that all of these different demographics have their good people and their bad people. They have their smart people and their dumb people. But everyone deserves at least a measure of dignity.
Yeah.
All right. Now, there are shitty people who should be behind bars. There are shitty people who are just always going to be shitty people, right? So if they don't treat themselves with dignity, I guess they don't deserve any. Like, it's a meritocracy. You get what you deserve. All right? But a lot of the people who are getting shit on don't deserve it. And when Richard Dawkins and people like him call middle America a bunch of uneducated, misogynistic rednecks.
I will be criticizing Trump in the future, and I have criticized right-wingers in the past. I will continue to do so in the future, but I am not going to do that and let people on the left off the hook. That is bullshit.
Right.
Just because he's the most prominent living atheist today does not get him a free pass on this type of petulant, childish, destructive behavior in my book.
Right. That's why we're here to be petulant and childish in return.
Fuck him and fuck
But
him.
see, again, we don't claim any moral high ground. I'm not coming at anyone.
Good. That's good because that'd be messy.
Oh god. Whatever, man. No, but I'm not coming down on anyone from a position of authority. I'm not an authority.
Yeah.
All right. My opinion is the same as anyone's opinion.
Right, so here we have a picture from his Twitter feed. It's also on his Facebook, where you can see that now it's not just his opinion. He has now galvanized the Center for Inquiry and Richard Dawkins Foundation into a political crusade against the right to be pro-left. And this is a real problem. If he's expecting support, because look, okay, so they went. First of all, it's a fear picture, like a blood color over top of the White House, which is clearly indicating Trump's new White House, right?
Dun dun dun.
When they deny science, enforce dogma, reject reason, fabricate facts, suppress dissent, we will be there. Oh, will we be ready? Join us. It's like, but this could describe the liberals as well, the political left. When they deny science, the gender issue, that's science denialism. There are genders. When they enforce dogma, are you telling me the left doesn't have political dogma?
Right. No.
Talk about naive.
Right.
Reject reason.
Gender, feminism, rape, fear, mongering.
Yeah.
Like
or how about calling your opponents rednecks?
Right.
That's a very reasonable response, Lord Dawkins.
Fabricate facts.
Fabricate facts. Well, I do see this because right now, for instance, they keep on about the Russian involvement in the WikiLeaks, right? So it's a diversionary tactic, but it's a conspiracy theory because I keep asking them, I'll read it. Does anyone have any actual information, data to back these claims up? And I'm always getting nothing back.
Right. I'm willing to give him a pass on this one, so I'll even disagree with you. And the reason I'll give him a pass on this one is that Trump did say things that were factually inaccurate. And I don't think anyone from the Center of Inquiry or the Richard Dawkins Foundation has ever pushed the Russian hacking story that I'm aware of.
No, but they do have a representative that they refused to kick out and defend. They defended her. I think she was their representative in Washington, D.C. I forget her name now. This is a couple years back. She was going on a rant about that she had Twitter PTSD.
Oh, that was her.
She was with the CFI.
Wow.
Yeah. And then when military veterans got on there and said, listen, you're talking shit, and we know about real PTSD, she both first threatened and then called their commanding officers to try and get them disciplined. These are vets, right? And CFI backed her up 100%. So this bullshit about fabricating facts, again, is arrogance. It happens, is a human nature. You need to check for this on your side as well as the other.
This is the problem with allowing people to self-diagnose. All right? You don't know shit about PTSD if you think you can get PTSD from Twitter. Honestly, a person on Twitter can choose to turn off Twitter. A fucking soldier can't turn off the gunfire and bombs dropping around him once he's in that situation.
Yeah.
You just can't. Right? There's a difference between being in an inescapable, violent, imminent danger situation and having people tweet disagreement at you. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It's different.
Suppress dissent. The left would never suppress dissent, would it?
Oh, right. No, there's no speech codes on college campuses.
Twitter's definitely not going through and attacking
Or
conservatives.
shadow banning.
Shadow banning. Facebook wouldn't do that. Google certainly not changing their algorithms, even though they're saying that they are openly. The left isn't the one perpetrating a ridiculous catchphrase, fake news, meaning if we don't like it, it's not real and it should be taken off of people's... They're trying to stop people from hearing ideas. You don't have the right to hear this idea because we've called it fake news. Or we've said that this speaker's dangerous. He can't come into your country. This is all shit from the left.
All right, so what I want to do now is I want a person in a position of authority to sit there and declare for me what is fake news, and I want another person to declare what is fake science. And this way, those things will never be abused, right? Because nobody would ever be elected that would put somebody in charge of the Ministry of Fake News or Fake Science that might actually shut down real news and real science.
Yeah, well,
no danger there.
This is absolutely ridiculous. It's abhorrent. He is dragging down both of these organizations that he's the head of. He's dragging them down into the political mud, and he's not going to win. It's going to cost everyone so much. You know, dude, you're a beaker man. Stick with your beakers.
Well, no, Thunderfoot, like I said, did a video recently where I agree with him in principle. Dawkins, Thunderfoot, Harris, Krause, every one of these guys, everyone that we love and respect, there are other people that we talk to on a more regular basis that are great people, absolutely great people. They're entitled to their opinion.
Yep.
I'm entitled to my opinion. But when you start...
we're not calling to silence them.
No.
We would never call to silence them. Absolutely. Dawkins has every right to drag his organizations down into the shit.
Right. The only beef that I have with this entire situation is that these men that we respect and these men that say that they're for reason abandon all reason in the face of evidence to the contrary, that these people that voted a way that they don't like weren't dumbasses. Not even the majority were dumbasses, all right? Yeah. And even the ones that are uneducated, just because you couldn't afford an education doesn't mean that you're a stupid person, and it doesn't mean that you're not allowed to exercise your democratic right to vote.
In fact, almost every major philosopher of note was not part of academia. Did you know that?
I did not.
Almost all of them. You name a famous philosopher, there's a 95% chance they were not part of major academia. They might have had an education, but they were all considered amateurs.
Well,
so, I mean, anyone who doubts that, go ahead and check it out, man. It's phenomenal. And so, I'm not saying academia is bad or wrong, but holy shit with the hubris. Let's put a little bit of a limitation on this, you psychos.
It bothers me because, look, I'm college educated, all right?
You're a snot.
I know, I'm a snot. I'm college educated. I'm not a physicist. I'm not an engineer. I'm not going to be writing papers for special journals. I'm not a chemist. I'm none of these things.
Yeah.
But I'm far from being uneducated. But the reality of the economy right now is that what I went to school for,
Right.
there are no jobs
Yeah.
in.
But that doesn't matter. All that matters is creationism versus evolution in school, you asshole.
Right. But my point is that, I didn't go for gender studies. So it's not like I can't find a job because, I'm being oppressed.
And I went for theater, so it's my own fault. I shouldn't have expected to have a job from an education in that.
Exactly. But, there are plenty of people out there, Mr. Dawkins, who are good people. They work hard. They keep your lights on. They make your clothes, or they at least deliver them. They grow your food. They cut down the wood that's turned into the 2x4s that builds the buildings that you live in.
Yeah.
They clean out your bathroom in your hotel room when they're done. They're hardworking. Usually. All they want is to have a voice.
Yeah.
Every 4 years about making their lives better. And when it comes right down to it, if they've lost their job, if they've lost their benefits, if the factory they worked at shut down, if everything has gone sideways on them in a short period of time, they don't give a crap about your science, because that's not even on their radar. And if you continue to look down your nose at them and call them stupid and uneducated and misogynistic and racist, you're not going to bring them over to your side, because they don't care. Unless you have a way to put money in their bank account and food on the table, they don't care about your science.
Well, they're not looking down the road at the so there's always been this conflict since the days of now with Socrates. He wasn't concerned about this. If he was a real person, it wasn't his thing. But right after him was Plato, and then Aristotle. So the very first two philosophers that most people will know about, even though they weren't the first, that they will know about that were these heavy hitters, had a division. And it was this argument, there's more than one, but there was an argument that already pre-existed. You can tell by the way they're talking. These ideas pre-existed, this tension pre-existed. The idea that you want to have a free and democratic society, a free society with liberties, right, to the maximum effect. But also it's understood, and this is the hard thing to deal with, that the best skilled or capable people are best at leading such a country. And so there's always a tension. How do you have the best skilled people in charge if the unskilled people are the ones that have the final say about everything? Because then the guys who are in charge are going to get tired of that shit, and they're going to either give up or they're going to try and take over.
It's always been a balancing act.
It's always been. And there's always all these different ideas about how to do it better and how to do it differently. But what Dawkins and guys like him don't see, because this is not their area of specialization, philosophy and thinking in terms of politics. Like, politics is about a lot of emotion and instinct. I'm sorry, it's not about evidence. Like, evidence is one part, it's one tool in your set.
Like, don't get me wrong, evidence is important. I will always support evidence, but
I'm a skeptic. Evidence to me is very important.
Yes, but there's a human factor here that I think is missing. They try to look at everything as an equation. It's a problem that needs to be solved. Right. You put forward your hypothesis, you test the hypothesis fails.
What is wrong with these people? They're not following the evidence. This is so strange. They're all rednecks.
And again, I will repeat it like I said earlier. They cannot read the terrain. Right? And that's why they are so offended and flabbergasted when it goes sideways on them.
Yep.
It is like a strategic absence in their mind, that they just can't understand what's going on, the conditions on the ground, the people, the majority of people who have a voice in this.
Yeah.
The people they're voting for are the people telling them, we're going to make your life better. Even if they're lying, it doesn't matter, because at this point, what do they have to lose?
There's a whole different area of study that Dawkins needs to go into, and he may not have the aptitude for it. It might be his personality type that this is just going to be very difficult for him. I mean, he's an older fella anyways. He may have no desire to learn about it. But if you're not going to learn about this shit and you don't know what you're talking about, maybe just take a step back. Like, give your opinion, but holy shit, calling people rednecks by the millions? What the fuck, dude? What were you thinking? Like, I've backed him up in the past about weird Twitter things he's done before, because it's just humor or it's an opinion. But it's never been this kind of acidic attack on so many people he disagrees with.
Right. Like, whatever. You want to post a funny cartoon about Islam? I'm all for it.
We want to get into it with a certain feminist who hates elevators, go at it, man.
Right, because he's insulting an idea. If you're insulting feminism and you're insulting Islam, you're insulting ideas or ideologies.
Right.
If you insult the GOP very generally, like just the political party, I probably wouldn't even have an issue with that.
Yeah.
But he's not. He's going after the voter.
And not only that, like I say, he's bringing his foundation and CFI into this, like directly. Like, dude, this is a monumental mistake.
It's suicide.
So someone out there better start the Hitchens Foundation.
Whatever.
And raise some money for something that'll last.
Oh, this is a great clip.
So this is a great clip. And to me, he tells this story, and it's very poignant. You can see it in Hitchens' eyes. It's very poignant. This is at the end of a documentary, the last scene, called Collision, or Collision Course. And it says a lot about Richard Dawkins from the mind of somebody who understands politics and operates much more on the instinctual level of humanity. He's, Hitchens.
Right.
So he knows shit.
We love Hitchens.
Yes.
He's a good guy.
So pay attention to this.
We all say that. And then at one point, I think this is not on camera, I said, if I could convert everyone in the world, not convert, if I could convince to be a non-believer, and I'd really done brilliantly, and there was only one left, one more, and then it'd be done. And there'll be no more religion in the world, no more deism. I wouldn't do it. And Dawkins said, "What do you mean you wouldn't do it?" And I said, "I don't quite know why I wouldn't do it. And it's not just because there would be nothing left to argue with and no one left to argue with. It's not just that, though there would be that. Somehow, if I could drive it out of the world, I wouldn't." And the incredulity with which he looked at me stays with me still.
So, this is a defining difference between the two of them. They're often seen as being the four horsemen, but these are the two, like I say, the most outstanding two, the ones that come to the fore. Sam Harris, Dennett are both very intelligent men, but they're not as bold, right? Dawkins and Hitchens were more bold, so they were seen as the two forerunners of this group. But there is a huge divide here in the way that they approached political matters and social matters. And I don't know if things have changed as Dawkins has gotten older and some of his experiences along the way. But this story to me is a very clear understanding that Hitchens understands that the dissenting voice is how you learn about your own position. Whereas Dawkins thinks, snuff it out. It's beneath me. It's wrong. How do you know unless you have that dissenting voice? Anyways, should we end it there?
Yeah, let's end it there.
All right, we've talked a lot, and people are going to hate us for this one, but we love you. And we love you, Richard. We love you so much. We love you a long time. All right, Joel, dude.
Oh, fuck, we forgot to bring that back up.
Well, I think I'm still turning this off because I forgot how to press the buttons right. Oh, yeah. Well, we're still recording.
No, don't worry about it.
Screen flow.
Don't worry about it. I just think it's funny.
You know what? I'm gonna bring it up, and then I'll just edit the end.
Are we still recording?
Yeah, it's still recording. So.
Motherfucker.
Yeah, I'll just cut this part until I show this picture. All right. So where was it?
What the hell is it? That's weird. Why is it not at the top of my feed?
That is weird. That's not it. Get on the screen. Let's go in here.
Oh, there it is.
There we go. And I see the likes?
I don't know. Just click on the link, the whole thing.
So, see?
Scroll down.
Oh, here. Lawrence Krauss liked it. I've met Lawrence Krauss, but I've literally had no interactions from him. That is amazing that it got his attention.
Well, what's funny is that it was meant to make fun of him, Sarah, and Dawkins.
Yeah, for their righteous crusade. But that means he has a sense of humor, at least, right?
Yeah.
So that's good. That's a good sign.
He does have a sense of humor because I put him and Martin Short.
Yep.
So he's the small one.
I wonder how quickly he can draw his gun.
Yeah, I don't know.